When most people visit this area, it is for the history and the culture as a tourist. But instead, we've come into this small village to do a biological dive and collect samples in a cenote. Fernando is a biologist who specializes in cave biology. Since it's not a good idea to dive alone in an overhead environment, he invited me along to share this adventure.
I am Dr. Fernando Calderon Gutierrez. I do ecology on underwater caves. So my research for a little bit over a decade now has been going into the different caves to start looking who is living in there and how is that they are able to survive, how is the ecosystem working.
So what do you hope to find here that will help you with your research?
So right now we are in Yucatan State, just with the border of Quintana Roo. This is an area that really has not been biologically explored. So the same way that when we are doing exploration of the cave, not knowing what to know or what to expect once we reach the water, if there is going to be really a cave or not, it is the same biologically. So right now it is very exploratory. Water, there are species that we can expect because are the ones that are in general in the Yucatan Peninsula, but we really do not know. So the first thing will be to see if we find some of the known species and which ones, but there is always a possibility of finding a species that has not been described.
So we began by trekking all of our dive gear over to the cenote. We've already come and rigged some ropes down to the water. It is about a 40-foot rappel to get to the water.
All right, here we go. Extra weight. Wow, it's hard to do with weight on the tank. Tank's weight on the bottom, I mean.
Once I'm in the water, I get my fins on for stability. Then Fernando starts lowering all the equipment down to me.
Okay, clear. Okay, clear.
With hopes of finding a lot of cave passage and laying lots of line, we set out to take a look. Unfortunately, it's mostly a straight pit, with only one small passage leading away. You can tell that the water is coming up through the floor. But Fernando is excited. He swims around for 2.5 hours, collecting sample after sample. Fernando did find one small side passage that he points out to me. I get out a reel and take a look. Let me try to grab him. Unfortunately, the passage gets smaller and smaller. Well, let's turn around and go back out. Wait, here's another one of those little critters. Fernando, I have a gift for you. He quickly grabs it up and puts it in a sample tube. The upper levels of this cave were dry at one point, so you get a lot of really pretty formations. These form as mineral-rich water slowly trickles down, leaving deposits. Well, the dive is over. Now we have to climb out and haul our equipment out. Okay, so what did you find today?
So today we were doing the dive, and it was impressive to see the amount of fauna. So we found at least like 6-7 different species of macroorganisms. There are others that are smaller that we use it on a special plankton net to capture. But what was surprising was the amount. So usually for cave fauna, you will only see a few individuals. In this case, you could see, especially for some of them, hundreds of them. So we saw like 3 different species of shrimp, some like that are larger, that we know that they are predators, others that are like super small, like 1 or 1.5 millimeters. We also saw like 2 different types of isopods. So everything that we saw were crustaceans. I saw also one of the blind fishes, that it is an endemic protected species in the region. And we also saw bigger black catfish that it is known to live in the cenotes, but it is not necessarily a cave species per se.
So the samples that you took, what will you do with them, and how long will it take you before you?
So in this case, we took a few of the samples of the different species that we saw, and the main thing is going to be doing genetics to compare, because something that we have found is that species that even look almost identical, even in the microscope, they can be different species once you all do DNA analysis. So in this case, the idea is, once we are back in the lab, we are going to start using genetics to compare to what looks to be the same species in other regions and see if they are or not.
And how long will it take before you have all of the data?
So particularly the DNA analysis, we need to do DNA extraction. We need to decide what type of sequencing we are doing. We can use a traditional approach in which we get small sections, or we can use a next generation approach that we can ensemble like regions of the genome and stuff like that. How long it takes, it will depend a lot on the approach that we decide at the end, once we really analyze the type of samples that we have. But I will expect to have like preliminary results within a year.
Here he breaks out his field microscope and takes a really close look at the new collections.
It's like a movement.
It's a leaf,
Could be.
a grain of sand.
So he's looking at whatever the hell that is.
Oh, that little spider-looking thing?
Yeah.
It helps if they move. Is he fighting? Or is he eating?
I think it is just sitting.
Goes in for the kill. And now he's eating it. Cage match.
Here's some footage shot by Fernando as he was collecting specimens. And a little footage of me just swimming around being a buddy. Some shots of the specimens that were caught.